This is a video about a battery, this battery to be exact, but I need to give you a little bit of backstory so that you know why this battery was such a great answer for my current setup, and also I think for anybody else out there too. But the disclosure to this video is also kind of weird because originally this was just supposed to be a sponsored showcase video from SmallRig about their VB212 V-mount battery. But then the box came in the mail and I saw this guy's face on it. Caleb Pike from DSLR Video Shooter was on my box, and I was like, what's going on? So I texted Caleb, and he's like, yeah, I have a product collaboration with SmallRig about this new battery. So all objectivity went out the window right then and there, because obviously I'm not gonna roast probably one of my oldest YouTube friends' first, creator collab product. Luckily though, the battery is actually pretty darn good. He's even got his little signature on the cable, on the little leather binding for the cable here. This is a pretty good cable, by the way. Not that that's the most important part here, but it's a 240 watt braided USB-C, USB-C. I've tested on a few different applications. It's good. And as somebody who cares about cables, I think it's a pretty good little cable. Anyway, before I get into the battery, let's talk a little bit about what my current setup was, because I've had some people ask me about my current rig, and I've got some updates to the rig that I'm pretty excited about. But the battery can actually be in lieu of some of the choices that I made, which is pretty rad. So Sony a7 IV connected to a Atomos Ninja 5. I've got obviously my signature purple HDMI cables connecting that. And then I've got a DC pin that goes to the battery eliminator, which then goes to DTAP. And I also used to run a dummy battery DTAP as well. I'm not doing that anymore. Instead, I'm just running a USB-C cable from the plate to the camera to keep it juiced all the time with USB-C. Now, Condor Blue sent over their new V-mount plates, which are excellent, probably the best V-mount plates I've ever used. Now, this video isn't about my Condor Blue V-mount plates, but I want to give you a quick little tour of these so you can see why this battery is so dope. So up here, we've got a DTAP port, and I love that they're using the reversible DTAP where it's 3 pins, so you can either use the top 2 or flip it upside down and use the bottom 2. That's sweet and convenient. And then we've got USB-C, PD, in and out, and then 12 volt and 8 volt DC barrels. On the bottom on this side, we've got another DTAP, also the reversible type. And then we've got this cool little trigger lock thing here that protects the on-off switch, an eject button for the V-mount battery, and then power indicator LEDs. And then on top, we've got another USB-C port and then some threads and pins for expansion modules that Condor Blue is coming out with. One is going to be an SDI HDMI converter that you could put on top of your plate, which is going to be sweet. Another one is they have a power expansion, which is going to have two 2-pin LEMOs and one 24-volt 3-pin Fisher port on it. So that's going to be cool if you need those things. But otherwise, it's really compact. The locking system for it is excellent. There's no instances of accidentally the battery coming out. Once that battery's in there, it doesn't matter how much force you put on it. It is locked in. It's just an excellent V-mount plate, the best one I've ever used. So what I do right now is this USB-C on the top is what's running into the camera to give it continuous power while there's a battery inside. It keeps it charged. If power fails, I still have the battery inside. But also the USB-C port on the side, on all 3 of my rigs, I have a cord, a USB-C cord that goes from the plate to a wall wart that gives power delivery to the plate and thus to the whole rig. So I can even hot swap the battery. I can take the battery out and it will still continue running because of that power delivery, and it will charge my V-mount battery and everything else. So that's the reason why I think this plate is so great. And then SmallRig sent over this battery, and what's crazy is this battery does pretty much everything I just explained through this sort of complicated rig, but all inside the battery and at a higher capacity, and just the battery is the same price as just my battery here, even though it has like a lot of the plate parts on it too. So let's talk about what is on this battery and why it solves a lot of those same problems all at once. Now, SmallRig has a few other sizes of a similar design to this. They have the 99 watt and the 150 and that kind of thing, but this 212 watt behemoth is coming in at $439, which is the same as my 150 watt Bebob that I'm using over here. And while it is bigger, I'll admit this is the biggest micro battery I've ever seen. It's not crazy big considering how much bigger the capacity is, but the coolest thing is all the ports that it has on it. So we've got 2 USB-C ports, both that support 140 watt, so you can rapid charge the battery, but also they're both, input-output ports, which is great. The same thing I was talking about with the plate over here. So you can run power in, run power out, or you could power 2 heavy-duty devices off this. Even if you didn't want to use it on your camera rig, you could have a 212 watt laptop battery if you wanted to, over 140 watts. And they've got a Type A in the middle, which is convenient, which even my plate doesn't have. And then they've still got the 8 volt and 12 volt DC barrels, which you normally don't see on a V-mount battery. which I like on my plates if I want to run, dummy batteries and stuff like that. But it's also got D-taps on both sides, and then of course the actual V-lock. Really the only thing that it doesn't do is those D-taps aren't the 3-pin reversible ones. And then there's a button on the side you can press, which will give you a little display showing your remaining battery. But the display is even better. One of the things that I use when testing cameras and other things is I have a little meter that I can connect via USB in between the line to tell me how many watts is it drawing, what's the voltage, whatever. This has all that on the screen. Here, let me connect my phone so that you can see what I'm talking about. So you can see it lists all the different ports, so you can see, voltages for each individual port, which is great. And then for C1, that's USB C1, you can see we're drawing, 9-ish volts, and it shows you the TDP down here. Then you also have your sort of total, how long you could be maintaining that output for, which looks like it's saying like 21 hours. It's pretty great to have like a meter built in that. Maybe for some people they don't really care, but for me, for testing purposes, when I like to know how everything's running, I thought this was a great little value add on the screen. I think the battery looks great too. Again, you can question my objectivity here because this guy's face, look at him creeping in there in the shot. But it's great. I like this sort of, glass look on the front that fits well with the screen and makes the screen sort of seamlessly blend in with it. And then on the sides, it's got a really nice grippy, almost feels a bit like a silicone on the side, but it's a really nice grip. And that grip has a really strange application that is totally niche, but kind of cool. If you're using your camera and then you pull off your lens cap, right? And you want to put it somewhere, you can actually stick it right on top of the battery. I know this sounds stupid, but because of the grippy stuff on top and because it's like the perfect size for the 82mm lens caps, you can stick them right on here and they don't really slide around too much, which is nice. And I just been kind of sitting my lens caps on top of these batteries. And I kind of like that for them. Let's face it, there's not a lot to say when it comes to batteries. It's not like we can do exhaustive testing on dynamic range and rolling shutter and that kind of thing. And again, when it's Caleb's battery, what am I gonna say other than I love it? But I do. I've been using them for the last, couple weeks anyway, on all the rigs, and they've been working great. I've tested different things like how much do they discharge if you just have them sitting on the, on the table doing nothing. And I think I lost maybe like 6% in a 24-hour period. But the fact that, again, that you can have them juiced up while using them with the USB-C is great. So it's not really an issue like with other batteries where if you look at them and you press the indicator, you go, oh, they're only about halfway. That's all you're going to have to work with. This battery could say halfway and it could stay halfway the entire time I use it because I can run power into it while using power out of it. So it's great. I also use them on my lights as well. I have a 600C Pro over there with 2 V-mount slots. And so I grabbed 2 of these batteries, put one on each side, and now you're only able to use the 600C Pro at 50% when using the 14 point whatever volt V-mounts. You need the 28 volt V-mounts if you want to run at 100%. And it worked well. And I ran them down to 0 until the light shut off just to make sure there was no funny business going on. And they worked great. Pretty much everything I've done with them, they've worked great for, and I just keep being pleasantly surprised. It's probably the best V-mount battery that I've used. The feature set is just terrific. The aesthetics are great. I've run into no issues with it. And if anything, it's just solved problems where if you don't have a rig like this, you could probably get the battery on its own to do a huge portion of the work for you. And then all you would need is just a really simple, not even electrified lock system just to hold it to your rig. I still prefer to have a rig like this because I like to be able to swap out the batteries. I don't like to connect things to them on a rig. I'd rather be able to swap them out. But really, this would do everything for you. And unlike a camera rig, it can do a lot of things outside of that too. Like I said, you can run your laptop off of this. Anyway, they're just great. How much more can one say about a battery? Really, I think this says it all right here. All right, I'm done.